Hi, this is Zach here with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Thursday, October the 30th. Starting off with the FTSE 100, where even our dear leader, the Prime Minister, has noticed that the FTSE is at record highs, which is quite amazing. Here you can see that we're finding support at the moment near the top of that rising trend channel from June, the black channel, around, let's say, 9,700. Above that, we're looking for the May resistance line projection. 98.30, and obviously the Prime Minister can take credit for every single point the market has rallied since he became Prime Minister, which I think is quite a lot, actually, probably over 1,000 points, 1,500 points. So well done to him. On the downside, if there is a breakdown, the previous peak, 95.77, is what we're looking at. That was the early October peak, the record that we had just about then. Moving along to the DAX, and you can see that still in that sideways range between recent resistance through 24,400 and the 50-day moving average, basically at 24,000, and not much going on there apart from slightly more negative with the 50-day line now falling and the RSI below the neutral 50 level. But looks as though there's such little volatility there, there's not much of a steer in terms of what might happen. But at least while we're above the floor of the channel from back in April, which is 23,800, looking for 26,000 and the top of that rising April channel. Next up are the Dow, and here we've got a situation where we came close to the top of the channel there, 48,300. We're looking for that by the end of next month, and obviously the market seems to be a bit ahead of schedule there. The problem, I suppose, is the steer on interest rates, which has taken the edge off the market yesterday. But at least while we're above 47,000 or so, looking for 48,300 by the end of next month, and probably even sooner than that, given the way things are going. Onto the cryptos, and the first is Bitcoin. Here you can see that not looking great in the sense that we've double topped with the early October resistance around 116. We're still above the rising 200-day line, rather, at 109, so that is a plus, and obviously still above the floor of the channel there from back in February, March, around 105. Well, above 105, looking for a best case scenario target here as high as 130, which is the top of that channel from February, and looking for that by the end of next month. But there's a lot of work to do, especially given the price action of the last few days. And really, at this stage, probably one would only say you're looking at 130 if or when 116 is broken. Otherwise, got more chance of hitting 105 than 130. Ethereum is next, and here the picture also slightly gloomy. We are testing the uptrend line there from April, and that is around the 3,800 level. At least while we're above that on an end-of-day close basis, looking for the 50-day line at 42.12. That's the blue line there. A negative, apart from the ongoing failures that we've had at the 50-day line, is the way that we've got a resistance line in the RSI window, which this market wasn't even able to test on the recent rally. So that does give us the impression that we'll have to go at least down to the floor of the falling trend channel from August. That's around 35.20, with the risk of also move down to August support and the 200-day line just above the 3,300 level. Moving on to gold, and here it's, well, it was it's the end of the line as far as the rally, but it's been on the edge. We've gone down to a low there, 38.86, and a bit of a bear trap rebound from below the earlier October resistance, 39.30. But at least while we're above the top of that rising trend channel from April, which was a previous target there, 39.60, looking for a move back up to resistance on the way down around 41.60 by the end of next month, so giving it a bit of time on that. RSI just on the wrong side of neutral 50, but looking okay in terms of that bear trap rebound that we had to at least get back on the right side of 4,000. Moving on to the stocks, and starting off with Audioboom, where every day we're obviously waiting for a mega deal. In the meantime, we've got the shares up a little bit. We've had an RSI 50 bounce, or above RSI 50, which is a positive. Need to break that old peak from recent sessions, so that's around the £6.40 level, end of day close above that. We would hope for a move this time to the red resistance line projection, now to 780 as a potential near-term target, maybe for the end of next month. Ideally now we stay on the right side of the 50-day line as we've just about done since the beginning of August. Obviously, there was a slight dip there earlier this month. Moving on to a stock which has done perhaps rather better in the near term, especially given the name that it's got, Critical Minerals, which is Critical Mineral Resources, which is obviously the theme of the moment. Rising trend channel there from July, top of the channel there, heading for 6p. We're looking for that by the end of next month, while we're above recent resistance at 3.6p. 50-day line also rising, and we've gapped through that, so that is a positive. Catenai is next, and here we've had an okay update from the company regarding Ludium, and here we already bounced off the rising 50-day line there earlier in the week. 0.34, the 50-day line above that. We're looking for quite simply a retest of at least the low 50s, so 0.54, the top of that channel there from April. RSI back above neutral 50, which helps, but it looks as though we need a little bit more oomph in the shares for the near term to get through towards 0.5p plus. Next up is a stock which I haven't looked up for a bit, which is Getech, and here decent contract news, sort of spiking the shares up. Top of the range and the top of the channel there, up to 2.75p, which is what we're looking for as a best case scenario near term, while we're above today's intraday low, just above 2p. More exciting stuff from Genedrive, which has actually managed to break that line of resistance there from the summer of 2024. We're now in a place between the resistance line there around 0.6p and the 200-day moving average is a best case scenario target 1.3p. And I suppose before that we have the August resistance around 1.2, but basically it is the 200-day line, which is a potential target by the end of next month, while we're above 0.6p. Moving along to Georgina, which is having another try after actually what was very good news last week, but we've got a second wind here. Here we're just touched the 200-day line above that, around 6.6p, looking for the old July resistance as high as 8.8p by the end of next month. But it's like second time lucky for the bulls there. And ideally, we stay on the right side of 5.5p, which was September resistance for the shares. On to Jersey, which is mysteriously moving up, and just couldn't resist looking at it. We've had three RSI 50 rebounds in the recent past, bouncing above the 50-day line there at 132, looking for the top of the channel there at £2.12, maybe as a best case scenario by the end of next month, but I suppose one might have to give that to the end of the year. But at least while we're on the right side of that 50-day line, looking for £2 plus by the end, or by Christmas, I suppose, is what we're thinking about at the moment. Light Science is next, and decent announcements here. It looks like the market cottoning on to the premise here, and 7.5p, the next target after the which is an October 2022 resistance line, and we're looking at that by the end of next month, while we're above recent support or recent price action around 5.5p. I think that should do it. Seems to be every day that we see a rise in Mila at the moment, and here see the old target, the second target there on 1.75, rapidly approaching now 2.8 or 2.75p, which was the old support on the way down back in 2022. But very impressive recovery here, and you can see the RSI has basically been at or above neutral 50 since the end of August. Mkango is next. Always worth having a look at this one, just because it's been quite a volatile situation. What you can see now is that after the weird RNS, some sort of speeding ticket RNS that there was the other week, we've got the shares bouncing off the floor of the rising trend channel there from back in July, and also bouncing above the 50-day line at 46p. Ideally, above the floor of the channel there at 49p, we can at least retest the 70 plus area by the end of next month. Interesting to see Orcadian going up. I suppose this was a sort of, in theory, a North Sea oil play, or a North Sea play full stop. Interestingly enough, obviously given that we have net zero, etc., ruining that, we have actually hit our first target there at 16p. Above that, looking for maybe a rather punchy call, the upper parallel of that rising trend channel from July as high as 33p as an end-of-year target on the shares. So looking very strong for some reason. And also, we have the 50 and 200-day lines both rising. They are then therefore in the run up to a golden cross, and that tends to be the strongest part of the cycle, which it already has been. Finishing off with Pulsar, which has been all over the place in the recent past, but good news today from Jetstream. So the share's gapping up. In fact, a bear trap island reversal, but 2-day bear trap island reversal, and that is a strong signal, especially while we're above the floor of the gap there at 42. Above 42, really looking for the shares to go all the way back up to recent highs, 60 pence plus over the course of the next month. That's it for me today. More updates tomorrow.